Okay, guys, here we go. Slideshow from our family trip to Vanuatu, Caroline Bay, September, October 2024. Now, I need to warn you that there are about 300 photos here, and I'm going to flick through them as fast as I can. But hang in there, there's some really great stuff. And if there's any photos that you wished you could see a bit longer, then just go to the description under the video and go to the link to the Google Slides, where I'll put a link so you can see all these in more detail or at your own pace. So this is just a quick map of where we're going. 1,250 k's from Australia is Port Vila via Brisbane. That's the international airport, Port Vila, capital of Vanuatu. And there's the map of Vanuatu, Port Vila, right in the middle. Bush taxi out to our Airbnb. Welcoming party. Sale and Florence's family from Port Vila who met us and gave us these beautiful necklaces. That's the B&B. We spent a few days in that waiting for our internal flights. That's the view from the B&B looking out across Port Vila. Actually very affordable. It's called Angel's Beach House. Look it up. It's a great place to stay. And you can go right on the doorstep and just go snorkeling, and there's reef, coral and fish, abundant fish, and you can sit back and watch the cruise ships coming in and out. But our main destination was actually Malekula Island. We had to fly there in a 22-seater. That's the airport at the other end, and that's a map of Malekula, and the airport's towards the top and the village we're going to is towards the bottom, quite a long way away. We started off in a bush taxi and we went through this cocoa plantation. So Malekula grows a lot of cocoa. This is a 500 hectare plantation that employs 500 people. One of whom is this guy, Solomon, who's been working there for 40 years, and he's just giving us a tour of the drying machinery there. So that's a hot air fan forced drying rack behind him, and there's also boxes where they actually ferment the cocoa before they dry it. And there's some kids with their toy cars. We had to cross the island, so going from the airport we had to go across to the other western side and then take a boat. So it took about 3 hours by boat, and that's typical coastline that you go past on the boat. And there we are, we arrived at Caroline Bay. So C-shaped bay, small village on the south side, island in the middle of the entrance to the bay. That's the island. That's the village. That's the arrival beach where we arrived, and they had these beautiful flowers and palms for us to walk through when we arrived, and shook hands with the whole village. That's the actual beach looking towards the village and some of the fishing boats. That's something written on the beach. Hello to you in French. Bonjour à vous. And they speak French over there. So then we arrived at Sale and Florence's house. So it's a two-story house, one of the original houses in the village, which was only settled in the 1980s mainly. And this is probably the biggest house, Sale and Florence's house. All the thongs of the inhabitants. So here we have Georgie, Molly, Floyd, Simone and me. And then you got Sale and Florence. So they actually work on our farm at Canaldra, and they've been with us for nearly 20 years. And we are very lucky to have them. And they hadn't been back to their village for 4 years, so we took them back and stayed in their house. And then there's Florence's friends and cousins from her island, Mary, Miriam, and Stelline. So there's Florence and her cousins. They were lovely ladies, and they looked after us every day. We were very lucky. There they are in the kitchen, cooking some local food, or preparing the local food on the table there. That's the kitchen, like a galley. There's looking through the kitchen towards the dining room. And then there's the lounge room where we spent quite a lot of time relaxing. Out the back there's Sale's family grave site, which is so well maintained, and also a laundry. No washing machine here. This is a hall where people get together. It's called Nunguni Hall. It's in the garden. And inside, I couldn't believe it. There's a bottle of Rosnay sparkling Chardonnay, a long way from home, and bolted to the wall just in case someone wants to drink it. And on the other side, you've got the pig tusks. This is a ground oven where we had our first meal, beef and vegetables cooked in the hot rocks. That's the other stove, wood stove, outdoors, just outside the hall. That's the buttress-rooted remnant rainforest tree. There's heaps of them through the village. View across the garden. That's a meeting house, like a thatched roof pagoda. There's Sail in the middle with the other boys having a bit of a chat. That's a pond next to the meeting room. Dogs. There's dogs all over the village. It's hard to tell whose dog's whose, but they keep the village tidy actually, and they're discreet, fairly quiet, and they hunt pigs with them too. Chooks are everywhere. No one seems to know whose chooks are whose, but they do know, but they just run freely, no fences, and they also keep the place pretty tidy, and they keep the grass down. So then we went for a bit of a tour around the village the next day, and this is the path back to the beach. This is a path in the village, typical sort of walking path. There's no cars at this place. You can't even get there by road. You can only get there by boat, and no tractors either. So around the gardens, there's various flowering plants that they've put in. Hibiscus, just beautiful. Everywhere you look, there's colour and flowers. And there's a traditional hut with a thatched roof and woven sides. That's the bamboo woven walls, traditional. Bamboo platform for people to sit and chat in the shade. Family sitting on the locally made woven mats that they make from ferns there. More local traditional homes. And here is a home in construction using concrete block. So that's the new way of building. Well, not that new. This place is about 30 years old. This is one of the first concrete block homes. And another fairly well-established one. And another newer one. And another newer one. And like what happens is that the boys, they call them, or the young men, they come to Australia and they work in the veggie farms. And in 6 months, they can make enough money to build themselves a house like this. So that seasonal work program does a lot of good for the villagers in the middle of nowhere in Vanuatu. And another place under construction, or two-story place. There you can see some bricks. That's a two-story place. It could take a while for a house to be finished. They just build it as they have the money. Just build a bit and then go and do some more work. Church. Beautiful church services, lots of singing and colour and passion and love, and just lovely church services. There's Sail giving a bit of a sermon. Sail was actually involved in the Bible college years ago. So there's the dispensary. There's Junior, who's our sort of tour guide, taking us for a paddle on the traditional canoe. We went out to that island. And you can swim all through that bay safely. There's no sharks or anything, and it's beautiful water, clear, and you can see fish. There's the boat that comes once a week with rice and food, and you can get on board and go shopping. There's another boat that turned up. It actually had building materials on it, and I think they use it for transporting coconuts and other agricultural produce back to the main ports. There's Junior showing Floyd how to shoot a slingshot. There's Floyd up a tree. There's these amazing rainforest trees that you can climb. That's halfway up the tree. There's Junior up the tree. That's the view from the top. There's another tree which you could climb. That tree, apparently, they can make canoes out of. There's another rainforest tree covered in ferns and other plants. A few of these lizards around. Crabs, jungle crabs. Coral reef tunnels on the walking track up in the hill. So you're sort of 20 metres above sea level and there's coral there. That's the other side of the village on the ocean side. And that's looking towards the neighbouring small island. And there's another traditional canoe. There's some of the coral reef just there, right on the shore. Some of the fish, these really bright fish. Neighbouring villages going somewhere. Kids in school, they were so cool, the kids over there. There they are, hanging around Floyd. They love playing soccer with him. They're a little bit smaller than him because he's high school age, and most of the high school kids go to another village where there's a high school. But there they are on the beach playing soccer. And there's the girls playing netball with the adults. More of the kids coming home from school. Some of the kids walk to this school from the neighbouring villages too. They are very happy kids, I must say. They are always smiling, always laughing, healthy looking, clear eyes, snotty noses. And here's the school itself, which is beautifully tended with just a push lawnmower, all that lawn. Built in the 80s, concrete block mostly. This one's corrugated iron. So yeah, this is a schoolhouse. We went in there and gave them some art materials. This is in the classroom. They learn Bislama first, the local national language, and then they learn French and then English. Plus they speak their home language, the village language, which is different as well. Georgie showed them how to do some painting. And they were playing soccer out there with Floyd. There's Sonny. He's actually the headmaster of the school, and he's Sale's nephew or cousin. There's Sonny. He's actually standing in the library, and this is actually a fundraising campaign that I'm trying to get up and running on GoFundMe to finish this library, because it was started 10 years ago. Then they ran out of money, but they've built the walls. So they're well on the way, and they just need a bit more money to get it finished, because they've got all the books, they've just got nowhere to put them. They just need windows and a suspended floor and another roof above that. And Sonny can have his office in there as well, because he hasn't got his own headmaster's office. The gardens are just beautiful. In fact, at first you think it's all just jungle. And then you realise a lot of it is actually planted. So that's the path up into the jungle. And there's a pawpaw tree. There's a lot of those. The pawpaws just grow by themselves. They don't even plant them. They do plant these bananas. They've been planted. There's Malaysian. There's about 4 different species of bananas that they have. There's a couple coming back to the village with some bananas and some island cabbage. There's some strange bloke trying to carry some bananas. Must say, those bananas are so heavy. I don't know how they do it. This is going through a cocoa section, or a little grove of cocoa, but we didn't see any actual ripe cocoa there. The rats have been causing havoc, and it's been too wet, so they haven't had a very good crop this year. There's a couple of cocoa fruit. So they harvest them when they're yellow, and then they dry them on drying racks. So that's walking through the actual rainforest, and there you've got the cultivated cocoa and coconuts and stuff inside the rainforest. There's more cocoa. There's Sale showing us a ripe cocoa, but there wasn't much of that. Hopefully by next May there'll be heaps of it. Breadfruit. Taro, that's water taro growing in a lake. That's land taro growing up on a hill. There's more water taro. There's coconut plantations. Coconuts are the main source of income. They just grow by themselves. There's a sprout on the beach, and there's a coconut tree. And there's all the coconuts. You don't want to stand underneath them because they might land on your head. And they use them for drinking. So when you go for a walk in the bush, you drink the water, and then you can also scrape out the flesh and make all sorts of dishes out of it. And then they dry off the flesh and make copra. And then they also use the husk for all sorts of things. So there's one of the boys with his shovel. Must say the gardening is very hard work. So there's Miley, one of Sale's nephews, and they're digging something up on the slope. it's so steep and so hot and humid and such hard work. I can see why these boys come over to Australia and work so well, because they're used to it over there. So those bamboo posts are for growing yam. There's the yam vines growing up the posts, and that's on very steep ground, which they actually cleared with fire in that situation. But a lot of them, they don't burn it; they just chop it and then plant in amongst it. So there's taro, banana, and island cabbage. There's a cow grazing on a tether under the coconut trees, which is very sustainable. Just doesn't overgraze; it just gets moved all the time. Some sort of chili. They grow heaps of tomatoes. That's manioc. That's island cabbage. That's a piece of manioc. That's how you grow more manioc. You take a piece of stem, and that's the manioc growing off the piece of stem. And then there's field peas. Snake beans growing on someone's roof. That's lap leaves, which they use for wrapping food in the ground oven. That's kava. Actually, kava was one of the main crops. That's planting kava, so a bit like manioc, you just take pieces and bury them. That's a kava plant. That's a nut. I can't remember what that's called. There's a little pig pen. There's not a lot of this. Mostly there's wild pigs, but we did see one pig pen area, maybe the size of a tennis court. This is the water source for the village. So Caroline Bay, they look after themselves. They actually built this little reservoir themselves, and then there's a poly pipe that comes out of it, and it flows into this holding tank, and then it flows by gravity from there down into the village. So after a few days, we went on this whole village picnic to the beach. It was amazing. So we all jumped on boats and went down the coast to another part where there's a waterfall and more reefs. And so this is when we got there. We had to swim part of the way because it's so shallow. And there's this island which has got sort of sentimental value for sale. His grandfather used to take him there, and it's part of their ancestral heritage. And there's some of the kids with their spears going to go spear fishing. And there's Salem Florence and Stelline and Miriam. Salem Florence. There's a barbecue on the beach. So they light the fire on the coral sand and then put the breadfruit on there. Bananas, cooking bananas on the fire. Pawpaw. And then we went for a little walk over to a waterfall just around the corner. Beautiful waterfall. And I guess Vanuatu is full of these. There's the view from the waterfall back towards the campsite where we were having a picnic. There's a few fish and spear fish. There's the tub of fish and a squid. So these were just caught with a spear, which was either a proper spear gun or just a piece of Rio steel, which is mostly what they used. And then the fish just go on the barbecue, just with a skewer or on the rack. So there they are, a bit of fish on the barbie, bit of art on the beach, fire on the beach, sunset. I took a bunch of photos at sunset. Nice light. Kids. Some of the locals. They're pretty photogenic, these guys. It's getting dark, so some of these photos are a bit hazy. And then we went to White Sands, which is a neighbouring village, about a half an hour walk away. So kids from White Sands walk over to Caroline Bay to go to school every day. So that's the path through the jungle over to White Sands. More of these jungle trees. That's the reason it's called White Sands is it's white sand. And there's some of the traditional houses. So this village has mostly traditional houses. So Sale and his relative there, and the family, and a lot of traditional houses because the people from White Sands haven't been to Australia nearly as much as the people from Caroline Bay. So it's interesting to see how the money earned has led to more development in the other village. But these are still beautiful homes and gardens and very tidy. I took that photo because you can see the solar panel up on the roof there. That's all they have, is just little solar panels to give them light. That's a bread oven, outdoor kitchen, more family and locals in the village. That was a cute photo of their lovely colourful dresses on the clothesline. That's the original church, and that's the new church. Inside the church, beautiful concrete, strong building. And there's one of the new concrete buildings being built in White Sands. And there's the guy there who's the builder. And the villagers there, although they really don't have much, they were so generous. It was amazing. They gave us this beautiful lap, which is a meal inside those leaves. So you can see there, when it's opened up, there's like chicken and vegetables inside the leaves. And the industry and handicrafts I've put into a section because there's so much of it. This is a drying shed for, I think this one's for coconuts. So on the bottom is a wood fire, and then on top is a mesh, and the air goes through. There it is. So they call that copra. That's the inner part of the coconut that's then dried on that rack under the roof and then sold. So that's I think they call it copra. That is kava. So that's the root of the kava plant that you saw earlier, and that's just been shaved by hand and then dried. That's the finer roots that are also worth money. And that's another drying tunnel. And actually, this was the only sort of economic activity we saw when we were there. The whole village seemed to be there. They were selling kava to someone from off the island. So the bags of kava being weighed and sold. There's Junior, our tour guide. He actually went to uni, studied tourism, came back to the village, and he's hoping to start a bit of a tourism business. And he's teaching us some of their handicrafts. That's just how to make a simple belt or hat band. That's Junior's mum. That's one of the things she makes, and they're fans. And she also makes these mats that you sit on. So that's a woven mat, they call a marriage mat. And now they're showing us how to make their thatch roofs using leaves as well and bamboo. So they sort of fold them over a piece of bamboo and then stitch them with a piece of bamboo and put layers and layers of that to make the roofs of the traditional homes instead of corrugated iron. Shopping basket, just made by hand. There's Georgie with one that she made. That's the entertainment stage where there was a social night while we were there with the big speakers, and we had to get on the stage and sing a song, which was very embarrassing. There's the decor that they do. They're so good at decorating everything with all their flowers. And then the brickworks was kind of the industrial area, a bit further down the beach. And they just used sand from the beach with cement from the Philippines and make their own bricks. Some boys making bricks. The timber they cut for their buildings themselves straight from the forest, and they just use a chainsaw and cut them freehand. So they're considering they're cut freehand and they're not really seasoned properly. They're amazingly straight and strong and hard pieces of timber that they can mill themselves. And we put a couple of bins in. They have a bit of a problem with plastic and rubbish, so we thought we would contribute a couple of bins without seeming too patronising, hopefully. Keep him Caroline Bay clean. That means keep Caroline Bay beautiful or clean. Village cuisine. Every day revolves around food, or everyday activities are all about food, and it's just beautiful. The fresh, healthy food that they have, breakfast, lunch and dinner. So there's a dinner. So you've got all these different fresh vegetables and a lot of coconut, greens, a lot of island cabbage and other green vegetables, pumpkin. I can't remember the name of that green wrap there on the left, but that's beautiful. That's kind of like a vine leaf roll. Then there's a sort of squid dish on the bottom, and then grilled fish and tomato curry and rice and taro, pumpkin and coconut. More grilled fish, lobster. This lollipop thing, I thought it was lollies, but it's just nuts actually on a skewer, so that was quite funny. They don't have lollies. So out in the pantry, you've got taro and yam and manioc and water taro and these starchy green bananas that you cook, grind them up to make lap lap. Coconut, of course, heaps of coconut. More bananas. Pawpaw everywhere. Massive pawpaw. That was the biggest one I've ever seen. There's the local butcher shop killing a cow. Not really something to show the kids. And yeah, the fish, of course. Fish all the time. They're just constantly eating fish. And even stingray. This one came a bit too close to the shore on the sea, on the ocean side of the village, and got speared. Tastes a bit like shark. And here we are in the hall making, grinding up the banana to make lap lap. So that's, mashed banana, island cabbage. You make a layer on there, put stuff on it, roll it up, put it in the pot, steam it, put more veggies on top. That's the coconut. So you sort of grind the inside of the nut. So then you get the coconut paste. And this is another type of lap lap from Florence's island, where there's the volcano, the famous volcano, and the dish is made to mimic the look of a volcano. So you've got this banana-based pudding around the outside, and then you put the hot rocks with the coconut milk in the middle. Pour more coconut milk over the top on the hot rocks, and that sort of cooks. There's one of the boys doing a communal soup. And here we are making lap lap making lessons. So you've got the puree, then you've got the vegetables, hot rocks on the vegetables, then you've got the chicken on the hot rocks, more chicken, more vegetables, then you wrap it up. These big leaves are perfect. They're like alfoil, but better. Wrap it up, tie it up, put it on the coals, and then get your hot rocks with your tong and put it on top of the leaf. Pile the rocks up on top. More leaves. Put a few veggies on top. More leaves again. And this is what it looks like when it comes out. So you've got the chicken, which was actually cooked. Doesn't look like it, but it was well cooked, and the veggies. Getting towards the end now, guys. My birthday. I actually turned 50 over there. And Florence didn't turn 50. She's younger than me, but she has her birthday on the same day. So there we are having our birthday cakes. That's Florence's. That's mine. We're very spoilt. That's my birthday headgear. And the kids, they were wearing the local Vanuatu dresses. So this is actually back in Port Vila now. We're getting towards the end. So basically at the end we had a big party in Port Vila before we flew home, and Florence actually made these dresses for the kids and the shirt. And I had a shirt just like that. And there we are in the function centre having our party with all the Port Vila friends and family. That's it. So thanks for listening, guys. And before I wrap up, I want to direct you to another video which will come up next, or we'll have a link in the description, which is Sonny telling us about his library. So hopefully you'll be interested in taking part in the GoFundMe campaign to help finish off that library that you saw back in the slideshow. So thanks, guys, and hopefully you'll go to Vanuatu one day and see this beautiful place.